Good afternoon, Ada County. My name is Shandy Lamb. I'm one of the deputy directors here at the Ada County Highway District, and I have the great pleasure each day to run ACHD's communications department. And on this team, we spend a lot of our time engaging with all of you. So whether that's on social media, in open houses, information sessions, or by way of tell us, or even virtual meetings like this one. So this Luncheon Live is our first in a series, and we are excited to host ACHD representatives to help all of you better understand the Highway District, who we are, what we do, and why we do it. So today, I would like to introduce our first guest, Commissioner Kent Goldthorpe. So let's get him on the line. Good afternoon, Commissioner Goldthorpe. How are we today?
Doing well, thank you. Thanks for this.
Good. Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us today. So I think there's a lot to understand about the Highway District. Number one, we're really unique, but number two, there's just a lot of working parts and components. We don't expect you to answer all of the questions about the Highway District today, but we are hoping to dive a little bit deeper into what it means to be on the commission and what the commission does. So we have some questions from our that we've gathered, and then we have some questions that have been submitted by the public as well. So are you ready to rock and roll on it?
Sure, why not?
Okay, all right. So we have a lot of new residents in the Valley, as you know, and ACHD is pretty unique. So for those that may not be familiar with us, can you give a little background on what we do at ACHD and how we were formed?
Well, we've been around for 50 and a half years. Last year was our 50th anniversary, which was a lot of fun to celebrate. In 1971, there was a real uproar in our county over customer service, specifically potholes. I think people were disappearing with their vehicles in some of those things. I moved into Ada County just a couple of years after that, and the newly created highway district was still filling those potholes, but it got so bad, for lack of a better term, that the legislature got involved. There was a vote of the people, and the Ada County Highway District was formed, the only multi-jurisdictional highway district in the entire United States of America. We have all the cities and the county itself that we represent under our umbrella. It was so important that we do our job well that we were given a lot of authority, including creating ordinances, which are local laws. And we take that very seriously, but we're here to make sure the roads are good.
Yep. Yeah, so anybody that's just new to the area, wherever you lived before, you likely called your city, maybe the city's public works department that would be managing the roads, but not here. So in Ada County, that's us. Give us a call. So yes, so we have a commission. You are a commission member. So what is the purpose of the ACHD commission?
Well, the purpose of the commission is to, first of all, and this is something I'm very grateful for, even though it's a very scary thought. When our nation was formed, our founders decided that there was enough distrust in government. There's probably other reasons that they wanted to have civilian oversight over government, and they even have that over the military. And so we have civilian oversight, including this retired salesman on the ACHD commission. It's kind of a humbling thing. We are involved in a lot of things. I mentioned we have ordinance authority, and that comes with the commission. We set the budget. We set policies. We review all of them kind of on a somewhat constant basis, but you'll see we set a budget every year. We have stepped in lately during last year and have a little bit more hands-on approach to the projects that we are going to be doing this year and in the future. And the staff has been wonderful to accommodate that desire. The commission is actually supposed to be, along with oversight, we have one employee, and that's the director. And the director runs runs the entire agency, but we are have a little more influence now over what is going on within the agency in terms of projects than we possibly have had in the past.
Yeah. So to become a commissioner like you, how were commissioners chosen?
Well, there are 5 districts within the county, and there they are color coded. Mine is the big green one. They have essentially similar populations that will be changing. The boundaries will be changing a little bit this year with the new redistricting that's going on. But we represent the entire county. We work really hard to make sure that we're not just representing the people in our own districts, even though we have our eyes and thumbs and everything else on what's going on in our districts pretty well. We are a county organization, and I have not noticed that commissioners, regardless of what they agree or disagree on, have ever stepped on each other's toes in terms of being a district commissioner instead of a county-wide commissioner. And we're elected, though, and this is the difference. We're elected only by the voters within our particular district. And that's a good thing, in my opinion, because it prevents one geographic area of the county from providing all of the commissioners, for instance, or a majority of them. And it inspires, I think, the voters in each district to do a better job of turning out to the polls.
So not elected at large like some of the local elected officials, but
exactly
specifically in those districts.
Yes.
And if you're wanting to run for commission, you have to run specifically for that commission seat, that district.
Yes, absolutely. And if anyone's interested in running this year, there will be some boundary changes. You might want to watch out for that. And if you're at least 21 years old and a registered voter, you can go for it. And the beauty of it is this is not a partisan elected position. I don't have to, nor would I want to really declare which political party that I affiliate with. It helps you to have a much clearer lens
Absolutely.
on how you deal with issues as a commissioner if you eliminate that.
Yes, that's a really good point. So we have, you said 5 districts, which means obviously that there's 5 commissioners. But I actually just learned that there were 3 before. Now we're at 5. Would you be able to virtually introduce those 5 commissioners?
Sure. There's Jim Hansen, Dave McKinney, yours truly, Mary May, and Alexis Pickering. Now, that picture looks kind of a little contrived because since COVID, we've done a lot of photoshopping of our bodies into that picture, where every time there was election before 2018, really, we used to all pose together and have a new picture taken, and we didn't. Yep. It'll be nice someday when we can again.
Yep. Okay, so what would you say are the absolute biggest responsibilities of the commission?
Well, we set the budget every year, and it's a process that takes the whole year for our staff. They probably started the day after we approved last year, the budget for this year, last year. And it's very exhausting. We've got 2 people on our staff who have a lot of responsibility for that, one in particular, and she does just an amazing job. When in every meeting, every public meeting, and there are about 3 times as many public meetings involving our budget now as there were 7 years ago. That was something that I and one other commissioner at the time thought was something we should do a whole lot more of, which was get public input on our budget. So we have quite a bit more open public meetings for that purpose and others. But we set that budget, we spend it. We have about 8% of our budget that covers overhead at the district, and the rest of it goes directly into programs, projects, and and that sort of thing. The just last night, we approved what's called our integrated 5-year work plan, which is also a year-long process where the next 2 years, but 5 years worth of projects are there in the plan, and 2 of those years are kind of set in stone, and we have enough to do there by organizing ourselves in the strategic plans and the placement of projects throughout the valley, like that map that's behind me that's 14 years young or old, and it looks like it's blank compared to all the development that's come in since. But we approve the ultimate plans that our staff makes for the district and for the county at large. What else? And we are liaisons with our municipal and other partners, the school districts, the cities, the county, the Valley Ride, the bus company, and anybody else we need to be, the state, legislators. That's commissioners' jobs.
Utility companies.
We don't deal with utility companies.
We have to work with them a lot.
We do, but that's mostly staff and the lawyers.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of different components when we're working on a project that involves and impacts so many different people or organizations. So that is a huge role that you guys have, to be those liaisons along with our staff. So that is a lot of responsibility. And I think you've been crazy enough to sign on for another term at least once. So how long have you been serving as a commissioner?
7 years. This is my 8th year, so it's ending the 2nd term. I look so much younger than
that. So who's there with you?
That's my wife, who still looks the same, and Chuck Winter.
She does still
from the back. Yeah.
She still does look the same. I did find out that it sounds like you can choose who swears you in.
Yes.
Very cool.
So Chuck and Mayor Tammy from Meridian have done the honors, at least in my particular situation. I have a lot of respect for both, and consider Chuck one of those elected officials that doesn't bury his personality and opinion and voice under a pile of whatever once he's elected, because again, this is just my perception and opinion. I think that you don't give up your rights to an opinion just because you're an elected official, and you should always be open. And in my case, I'm kind of blunt with my feelings about different things, and so's Chuck, and I appreciate that a lot.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that that's a really big moment. When you're being sworn in, you're taking on a lot. So it's fun that you're able to choose people for those reasons that mean a lot and have supported you along the way. So why did you decide to run? Why did you decide to run in the first place? Why did you decide to run again?
Well, at the time I decided to run, which was about June of 2014, I perceived, and please remember I'm using the word perceived here, but it was a very strong perception that there was a very heavy hand on the part of government and a couple of the commission members at the time against individual citizens. In a few cases, one of our municipal partners in particular, and that upset me. It wasn't because I thought I could do a better job with the roads. It was because I thought I could help do a better job with government. And I will tell you right now, that perception has been eliminated.
Well, good. Well,
so that's good.
And then you ran again.
Yes, I did. There's a lot that goes on here. There's a learning curve that takes some people longer than others. And I'm not saying it was a short curve for me, but after 4 years, there was a ton of stuff in motion that I just didn't want to see. I wanted to see through. And after being on the commission for almost 8 years, I can honestly say that there's a lot that's happened here that I was able to either watch or be involved in from inception in terms of thoughts. all the way to dedicating the project.
Mhm.
And that's kind of a satisfying feeling.
Absolutely. And you have seen a lot. You've been here for the better part of a decade. In that time, what have you been most proud of in your tenure as a commissioner?
Oh, well, there's a number of things. And I'm just grateful to have been a part of seeing some changes occur or some things happen. Maybe been a big part of having that happen. But when I first came to the commission, for example, I said a couple of things during my campaign that invoked some laughter. And one of the things that I'm known to say when I'm talking about transparency and full disclosure is I look like I am right now. I'll look you straight in the eye and say, we're going to play this game as though it were poker and we were dealing every card face up. I say that every once in a while, and I'm serious. And wouldn't you know it, it's kind of caught on, and other people around here are saying the same thing. And I think the whole county knows what that means now. And I don't think there's very many people that would disagree with the fact, especially considering some of the extra public outreach that your department gets heavily involved in, but a lot of extra public outreach that goes into a lot of our commission meetings, projects, ordinances, anything that we're doing. The public has much more opportunity to participate in and know about than they ever did before.
Well, I will say cards face up is not a good way to play poker, but I definitely.
No, but it's a great way to be honest.
Yes, it's a great way to run a government agency. And our department appreciates that a lot. We are strong proponents of transparency. So we appreciate that and continue to play our hand that way.
Yeah, well, it's just kind of a crude way of saying be honest. But another was that I would like to, at the time, I wanted to see us, especially with regards to our projects, be once and done. And that actually got a whole lot of laughter from people all over the valley when the thought of the highway district going in to do anything once instead of 5 times with utility companies and everybody else involved was just absolutely no way. And, repeating something enough times sometimes helps cause it to happen. And it was last year, I believe, we adopted a policy that now when we go into a road to do something, we look into the future for about 5 years. And what we see happening with that road and that area as far as development and stuff, we plan for the next 5 years. When we tear that asphalt out, we will try to do 5 years worth of anticipated work. I believe it will save, and it saves the public a whole lot of headache and heartache and consternation. It costs us in many cases a few extra bucks, but the convenience is worth it.
You guys actually talked about a project like that last night at the commission meeting.
We did, and we talk about those now a lot. And sometimes people say, well, why are you doing all these things? And when they find out, they go, oh, good idea.
Yes.
All of this, our municipal partners and others all participate in the input for those decisions on those projects. Now, a couple, 3 years ago, I was successful in working another $3 million into our budget to begin to fill the almost 500 miles of gaps that we have in sidewalks in Ada County. You drive around the county, especially in some of the older sections that are not in the downtown area or close, and you won't see any sidewalks, curbs, gutters, even marks for bicyclists. And that's dangerous. And it's I don't know. I got sick and tired of watching people get run over, bicyclists, kids, old people. And I figured very quickly, I'm not real good at math, but it seemed to me that if we got it so that these kids could safely get to school instead of having thousands of additional cars on the road every morning to take children to school who could otherwise safely walk if we just provided the facilities, then maybe we ought to spend a few bucks making sure that could happen. And that 3 million went a long ways. The next year, there was a formula proposed by another commissioner to generate money for that type of project, and it didn't provide really any money. So the next year, I said, hey, okay, this year I want 5 million, and I want 5 million for the next year. Well, that first 5 million is being spent as we speak. And the second 5 million wasn't accepted by the rest of the commission. And so we'll try and figure out a way to get that back into the budget for next year some other way than by my resolution. But I think it's very, very important that we walk the talk or walk the walk in terms of safety for virtually every form of transportation that people want to utilize, especially for our most vulnerable. Anyway, so I also believe that one of the first things I did was helped initiate a much better relationship between the commission and the city of Boise. Our staffs have always gotten along very well, but from a political standpoint, not so much with the elected officials in both entities. That's gone, finished, fixed, and we get along famously now. And I've always believed that our relationships should have zero to do with politics, and I think we're doing much better in that regard as well.
Absolutely.
I think that in the last 7 years, the commission has insisted more, better, and more effectively that we follow the land use planner's decisions for what happens within Ada County. We don't just build the roads and then have developments come. We follow whatever decisions that the land use planners, which is the planning and zoning, the city councils, and the Ada County Commission, we follow their decisions and then try and make those decisions happen as quickly, as well, and as painlessly as possible, given the constraints of our budget. And I must say that we have to be, we're very slow at that because of budget constraints. But I'm happy to say that we no longer have to make the decision to build a road and how big, how wide, how whatever, before a planning and zoning commission or city council makes the decisions about what's going to go on with the ground around the road. And it makes more sense to do it that way. Now, also, with that happening, our staffs are involved, I believe, much more, and they're involved much more effectively with each other with that kind of an understanding. So what we have, that's about all for that one. I do believe, and this is thanks to your department again, we do a much better job now of informing the public exactly what ACHD's limitations are. It used to be, back when we had 3 commissioners and for quite a while after, that we took the blame for everything that was going on with regards to what happened with the roads, as though we had made all the land use plans, and perhaps a couple of times we overstepped our bounds. I don't know, that's ancient history. But the courts decided, and this is the Supreme Court, that we have to do things in a certain way as far as approving developments. As long as developments meet all of the constitutional, all the statutory, all the policy decisions that we have here at ACHD, we can't deny them. Again, the land use planners are the ones that decide how developments come in and whether or not they can happen. And we're just there to help try and make it a successful operation afterwards. And in 2015 and 16, I had a bunch of neighborhood meetings, the purpose for which was to help neighborhood activists understand what our limitations were. And it worked. It got a lot quieter around here once that understanding started to spread. And then those two court cases, you will see referenced on every single commission agenda every week that we have a meeting, so that people are reminded of those limitations. And the fact that it's on our agenda is thanks to Commissioner May. Another thing I'm grateful for is the fact that ACHD has such a strong support of continuing education. I make the joke that I felt like a duck out of water once I was elected. Again, a salesman sitting here in this commission. Yeah, I think our founders were inspired in that regard, but it does seem strange still. I'm the first commissioner in this agency's history, and the second one in the state of Idaho, that took advantage of some programs that are available through the State Department of Transportation to provide continuing education at everything from a very basic to master's degree level courses in everything from first aid to engineering to drainage to stormwater, all kinds of things. And it's a series of courses that you can complete over 4 years. And I sped it up a bit, and I finished that in 1 year. And I earned 2 designations in the process. One they call the Rhodes Scholar. That's ROAD Scholar, not Rhodes Scholar. And the other one, because I'm anything but the other, and the other one is Roadmaster. And kind of the coolest part about that was that at the conclusion of those courses, I received a really cool Carhartt jacket that I can wear, and I enjoy doing that. The best thing that happened.
I'm bummed you're not wearing the Carhartt jacket today, Commissioner.
No, but I've been breaking it in, and they're pretty tough. It's pretty tough clothing, but 2 great things came out of that continuing education for me, and one is that I speak the lingo better. I'm harder to fool, and that's the wrong words to use, but I'm harder to fool, and I even know the math surrounding what we do here. So that's something else. And
that's an extensive program. The Rhodes Scholar and Road Masters program are extensive, and it's so cool that you accomplished that. And I love that we offer that to so many of our employees as well. We have a long list of employees that have taken advantage of that opportunity.
It's got to be over 100 by now.
It is. I wrote a press release. I'd have to look at it again, and I'm sure that there's more that are involved in it currently. But yeah. I think it's so great that it's not so specialized in one area, and it's challenging people to learn so much about all these other different areas and just become so well-rounded in transportation and what we do.
Well, as I mentioned before, we've probably tripled the public input in our budget process and our 5-year integrated work plan. I'd be really hard pressed to say how much that has expanded, because this year we had public meetings every week for 2 months.
There were a lot of public input on the 5-year work plan.
Yeah. So anyway, I think that's a great thing. And so I must say that at least in my own mind, most of the goals that I had when I first ran, I think they've all been met. But as I've been here in office, there's been a whole bunch more goals that have come up as well. Little did I know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you couldn't have predicted a lot of it. So you've been a resident, I think, for 47 years. Is that correct?
47 years here in
resident of Idaho for 47 years. So I think that earns you the Idahoan badge. So in that time, almost a decade, almost as long as the Highway District has been in existence, what has been the most surprising thing that you've seen here in the state?
Well, that's easy. It's growth. As I mentioned, when we went to, maybe I didn't, when we went to 3 commissioners to 5, it was over the issue of growth in the 90s. And the legislature and others didn't like the fact that we weren't accommodating growth enough. And so they said, okay, you're going to have 5 commissioners now for various reasons. And so we do. But in 1974, when I showed up on the scene here, you could, this is the way I put it, you could pheasant hunt from Cole Road to downtown Nampa and never step off a farm. And my trivia question that I ask people who think they've been around here for a long time but aren't natives, I ask them how many stoplights or traffic signals there were between Cole Road and downtown Nampa. And if they know there was only one in front of Sunrise Cafe and Meridian, that just shows you how much growth we've had. I mean, everything else, including Eagle Road, were 2-lane goat paths or farm to market roads. And Meridian had about 4,000 population. Cuna had less than 1,000. Very, very, very different. And so change is the thing that, and really the only thing that surprises me that much. The people here in Ada County are still the same. When I came here from another big city, I just had the business card for one potential client. And that client was so wonderful to me. I couldn't buy a meal or rent a room for 2 weeks. And I went back to that big city and told my girlfriend that I had discovered the promised land and would you marry me? And we're here.
And the rest is history, huh?
21 grandchildren later, I'd sell pencils before I left this area. It's wonderful.
Wow. It is. And it's full of very, very good people. That is something that you won't be able to find somewhere else like the people that we have here. So with growth comes challenges, but in your opinion, is that the biggest challenge, or what are the biggest challenges that we face as a highway district in the coming year?
Well, we had no idea that this growth was going to come at this degree, this quickly at this time. And if we had, we might not have passed on some very small property tax increases over the past years. But as we did, we've kept taxes extremely low. In fact, I would challenge anyone to find a levy for roads anywhere in the country that's less than ours. But the biggest challenge I think we face this year is juggling the wants and the needs of transportation in Ada County. What is actually a need and what's something that I would call a want that you don't have to take care of today? There's only so much money that we have in our budget, only so much revenue that comes in every year. And we have nearly $1 billion of projects already pointed out in our comprehensive plan. And we have about $60 million a year of capital funds to make it happen. We are, in my mind, first and foremost, a maintenance organization to take care of the billions of dollars of assets that we have in our roads before we think of expanding them. And so we do that. We do that very well. And the condition of our roads is absolutely second to none. And that's by independent third parties that evaluate it. But we do have to a huge juggling event every year with our budgets and our needs. We have a lot of wants. We have a big challenge to eliminate the financial impact of the expansion of Highway 16. When the legislature, and I'm grateful that they did this, they decided not only to do the project, and that's been planned for years, but all of a sudden it came out of the blue. We have money to pay for it. And so, boom, we're going to build it and pay for it now. And the last time I was in meeting when approvals were given for anything, they were still talking in terms of 20 years. So that came as kind of a surprise, along with the unfunded mandate or the unintended consequence to the citizens of Ada County, which would cost $34 million. approximately to put Ada County's connections onto Highway 16. And so I've been very, very vocal now for about a year, almost a year, with regards to the fact that we need help in that regard, so we don't have to take money from the huge projects and the huge needs that we have all throughout the county just to stick on the western edge of the county for a wonderful road that's going to create tons of opportunity for Idaho, but that really benefits, in my opinion, and I'm not real popular in some circles for this, but in my opinion, the folks in Gem and Canyon County, and of course the people in Star, love it, and that's part of Ada County. But we're going to have to pay that bill somehow, and I believe that the discussions are being held as we speak now for the state to be able to come in and help take care of that unfunded mandate. And I am grateful for that, more than I can say, because of what I saw as the negative that would happen otherwise. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my style. I'm a practical joker.
No.
You might not understand that, but looking at me. But on April Fool's Day last year, I was invited to be a guest on a radio program. And some of you probably heard it. Well, this was April Fool's Day, okay? Nothing's real on April Fool's Day, right? And so I was talking about the Highway 16 extension and the $34 million, and that I had single-handedly decided or discovered a solution how to get that $34 million, and that was to put toll booths on every road coming into Ada County.
Oh, man.
I said it was April Fool's Day, right? Well, a lot of people didn't hear that. And so after I was off the air, I think the host had to bleep a few people, and the phones lit up here at Ada County Highway District. And anyway, but I think that word got out really fast after that, but that's my warped sense of humor.
I bet their phones were blowing up here.
Well, you know, when the general counsel comes to you the next week at commission meeting.
You got a finger wag?
Oh, kind of.
Uh-huh.
There was some humor seen to that as well.
You definitely
that's the challenges.
You do always keep a good spirit, and I appreciate that you take what you do very seriously, but you also always have a good sense of humor, which helps when we have some challenging things to talk about and big things to accomplish. And it can get serious quickly, but you do a very good job of keeping it lighthearted, which I appreciate.
Well,
but don't do any more April Fool's jokes that might make my job harder.
No guarantees. Sorry. April's coming up.
So with all of those challenges ahead, and you can only do so much in 1 year, and you know that. But what would be your biggest goals for 2022?
Just simply to see that the plans that have been laid in place during my tenure, especially in my particular district, actually come to pass. There's always the temptation, whether it's on my part or the part of others, to think that their projects or maybe their district has a little greater need than some of the others. And so suggestions might be made to delay projects. And I have allowed for a lot of projects to be delayed in my district over the years. It's not my desire to see that happen this year at all. There is a ton of stuff happening in Southwest Ada County in terms of development, and there's a ton of stuff that's planned in terms of ACHD roads and our budget, finally. And I'd like to see that come to pass. I've spent years developing this pipeline of projects, mostly with the staff has done it, and I've been grateful for that. And been very patient while Southwest Ada County seemed not to quite get their share of love years ago. That's not so anymore in my job, I believe, this year, and my goal is to see it all happen and keep that pipeline intact.
Great. And how about just personally? Did you set any New Year's resolutions this year?
No, I do that. I gain weight. I don't lose weight.
Well, it doesn't have to be about weight.
I never, well, it's just the most common goal. I never catch enough fish. So that's going to happen. I always want to spend more time with my wife and my grandkids, and that'll happen.
Oh, look at that. There they are.
There's a few more since that picture was taken, but.
And you have 7 children.
Yes.
And how many grandkids now?
I think there's only 21.
Is that all?
Maybe 22. I lose track. We've got a number of sets of twins, so we're kind of freaks of nature.
Lots of twins, huh?
Yep.
Well, that's fun. I'm going to set a New Year's resolution for you to hang out with all of. Do they all live around here? You going to travel?
There's some in Arkansas, Texas, Spokane, Logan, Utah. The rest are around close.
See, you get to go travel this year and go hang out with all of them.
As soon as we have a stop in this stinking COVID surge, I've got tickets purchased already that we've had to cancel the trips that we're going to resurrect and do it.
Well, I look forward to you using those. But I'm with you. I need everything to calm down. I think we all do. And who thought we'd be at this point again? We thought this would be over by now, but we'll all do our part so that you can go get some quality time with all those grandkids.
Well, let me say one thing that I'm extremely grateful for with regards to ACHD leadership and staff and this COVID situation. We have had half of the impact that other groups, companies, employers, and society at large, half of the impact here at ACHD has been elsewhere. And that's because of the courtesy and the seriousness that folks around here exhibit and take their jobs. And I'm just so grateful for that, because the public has absolutely no patience for us not doing our job. We cannot close up. So the fact that we're doing so well in that regard I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I completely agree. So when you are not plugged in as a commission member or one of the other volunteer opportunities that you've taken throughout the community, what do you do to unplug?
One of my mottos is that I only work to live. I live to fish.
Oh, and look at that. Was that recent?
Well, it was when I was starting to grow my hair long during 2020. And unfortunately, you don't have a picture of me with as long as that hair got. But anyway.
Well, that is great. I know you're an avid outdoorsman.
I try.
Probably what attracted you a lot to Idaho in general.
All my life, this is even better opportunities than I had growing up.
What do you do other than fish?
Hunt.
Okay.
And I do basically about anything my grandchildren would like to do to have fun, so that they don't think I'm some kind of a stuck-up old man.
Good answer. That is an excellent answer from a grandpa. I will tell you that. Well, I love that. Let's see. What else? How about just the advice that you would have? You're the outgoing president. So you're off the hook from being president this year. But what's your advice to the commission for 2022?
Well, I'd say don't take yourself too seriously. There's enough serious stuff that goes on here and decisions we have to make. You don't have to pile it on any deeper. You'll do just fine on the commission if you just do what you think is right, plain and simple. You forget ideologies, you forget politics, you forget about whether or not somebody will vote for you, and you'll be the best commissioner you can possibly be.
Great advice. Great advice. Okay, so those are the questions we had for you, but I know that some of our members of the public had a couple of questions as well. We don't have a ton of time left, but we'll see what we can get to. So from Delaney on Facebook, how would you describe the future generation and what advice would you give them as they grow up and learn more about their community? Good question, Delaney.
Yeah. Well, the future generation is everything. Period. End of story. Without a good future generation, you got nothing. And so, what I would advise for them, uh, do like your parents, how your parents have raised you, be resilient, have a good work ethic, worry about your community. Don't just sit there and bitch, moan, and bellow about what's going on around you. Get involved and make a change if you see one's necessary. And perhaps, I mean, you better be registered to vote. You better vote. I hope you communicate with your elected officials in a civil way. And I would love it if everybody had the opportunity to be in public office at some time in their life.
That's a great answer to a great question. Thank you so much, Delaney, for submitting that question. So from Citizen Daphne, she emailed in, when will Star Middle School have a safe route for kids to walk and bike to school?
Great question. Don't think I'm skirting it by saying that's kind of out of my district. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of projects at Ada County, and we may already know of that need. I'm sure we do because I've seen it mentioned a couple of times. When those questions come in my district, what I do is include them on my personal priority list for community programs funds and how they're spent for those $3 million, for those $5 million expenses that the commissioners actually can have some discretion over whether, when, and how they're carried out. That is one of those. I would give my commissioner, which is Commissioner May, a call and just discuss it with her. I know she is already aware of it, and she will shepherd that through to completion. The reason I know she will is because when we got the first $3 million approval several years ago, she actually got some of that money to do a bridge in Star so that kids could walk to school. I can't remember exactly the location. You probably already know it, but she can help you make that happen. And because you asked it of me, I'll be watching out for it as well.
Great. Well, thank you for answering, and thank you for submitting that question, Daphne. Any other questions that we have coming in? So from Citizen Ed, Eagle neighborhoods need speed studies and relevant mitigation approaches. What can we do, and how does the process work?
Okay. Last night was the perfect example of how the fruition of the process that I'm going to describe. Again, you're in Mary's district. You can send us an email in a detailed fashion, and I know it's going to be civil because you just asked a great civil question in a civil manner. You tell us what the problem is. We will go out and look it over. We will do speed studies, traffic studies, and then we will work with, I'm going to back up a minute. One of the things that can make these things happen the quickest is if you go to your city council, your mayor, and tell them how important it is. And if they're smart, they'll think it's important too. And they'll put it on their priority list. We'll already know it's on the citizens' priority list, and it'll happen a lot quicker. Now, these things that you've just asked for are very small, and we can make them happen almost like that compared to building a project. So if you would put that, whatever specific concerns you have, in an email, send it to ACHD through their TELUS and copy your commissioner, which is Commissioner May, again. And I think you'll be pleased with the results.
Yep. I think that is a great route to go. So Ed, thank you for submitting that. And just so you know, you can get to that really easily by going to achdIdaho.org/tellus. And you can submit all of that information to us, and you can CC Commissioner May. We also will make sure Commissioner May sees it as well. So a great chance to get that in front of us. All right. Citizen Kathleen, would you encourage the young 23 to 30-year-olds to run for a seat?
That's a tough question. I just mentioned that I would hope that people would take the opportunity to serve in a public office sometime in their life. Do I think that 23 is a little young? Well, because I know of the decisions that we make and some of the wisdom, as it were, that may be required to make these decisions. Uh, Maybe it's too young. You can only go for it. Now, 30, if I was to say that 30 was too young, there's a wonderful young lady that sits at my right on a commission who would smack me. She just turned 30. So that would be a big no, that 30 is not too young. So, but I would advise you to get involved with neighborhood groups. I'd advise you to get involved in a political party of your choice. Even though this is a nonpartisan race, some of the best ways to get your name out there publicly is to work within the political system. And if and while you do that, erase the partisanship stuff from your mind if you're going to run for a city council or ACHD seat sometime, because partisanship has no place here. I would help other people get elected so that you know what's involved. But the law says you can be at least 21. And as I told Shandy before we started, when I actually saw this question, I told her of a young man who was the mayor of Wilder, who just came out of high school, and he ran for office and won. And he was on the Compass board with me. And I was absolutely in awe of that young man's maturity and how he made his decisions and his desires for his community. And so that is overwhelmingly a good thing to have when you decide to run for office. But you do need the support of thousands of other people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's see. Citizen Nick, why are the bike lanes on Main and Fairview never plowed, or worse, have snow plowed into them?
Well, the bike lanes, the sidewalks, it's kind of like a catch-22. The law requires the sidewalks to be cleaned. And so immediately a lot of folks will scrape that into the street. That may be after the plows have already come by, and when the plows come by, they'll push it back up on the sidewalk. It's kind of nuts, isn't it? But we were going to have a discussion and make some decisions last night with regards to this very issue, and we ran out of time and put it off till next week. But let me tell you this, back during Snowmageddon, which was a horrible time to be on the ACHD commission, we made some decisions that involved plowing. We talked about putting together some smaller pieces of equipment to be able to utilize for this. We didn't have any snow since then, so not a whole lot happened, although we discussed it. Last year, we found some types of equipment to test to take care of bike paths and sidewalks. And I thought we'd be getting 3 or 4 pieces of that equipment. And then when we weren't using it, our municipal partners could use it on green belts and other things. And now I understand that we're talking in terms of at least a dozen pieces of that equipment. It's not real expensive. But one of the things I hate most, and one of my assignments, well, it's actually about my only assignment this year, is I'm the liaison from the commission, a member of the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act committee, which deals with the repercussions or bad things that can happen if we don't keep the sidewalks, the ramps, and other things clear, or if the citizens that are supposed to just don't. And so we're dealing with that, perhaps not as fast as some folks would like us to. And for that, I apologize, but shrug my shoulders as well, because it's really only so fast that we can go at this particular moment. But we will be making some decisions next week. So, Nick, watch.
Tune in. Yes. You can tune in weekly to the ACHD Commission meeting. So if you've enjoyed this live so much with Commissioner Goldthorpe, he's actually live every week. And you can see him there at achdIdaho.org/live. And on that page is also a link if you want to participate in the meetings for any public testimony. You can follow the link on there if you'd like to participate or just watch on there. To all those people that are asking questions about getting involved at a young age as well, this is a great way to do it. Start watching and just see what the discussions are about and what decisions are made every week, and start to understand how the world works around you, because there's a lot of different components at the city level, at the district level, in the county. So I highly encourage everybody to watch as well. I've stolen just about an hour of your time, Commissioner Goldthorpe, so I am going to let you off the hook today.
Hey, thank you very much, and thank you for anyone and everyone who tuned in on this or who will tune on this, because it's been recorded. It
has been recorded. It'll be out there for the world to watch. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. And we are excited to continue this series and bring more representatives on, talk about more topics. If you have topic ideas, let us know. We're happy to take those as well. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Goldthorpe. Thank you, everybody that's tuned in, and join us as we see a lot of what Commissioner Goldthorpe has talked about today unfold in these meetings. And that's on Wednesdays in the month. I will note that while we normally have one evening meeting a month, we're trying out 2 next month. So be sure to go onto our website, check out the agendas, and make sure you find what time something is happening, whether that's a pre-commission meeting or work sessions. And you can also find the topics there, so you can see what it is that the commission is up to that week to make decisions on or to discuss. But unless you have anything else, I just want to thank you again.
Thank you. I noticed my wife's been watching and she approved, so I'm okay for the rest of the day.
Yes, she joined you today, and she said great interview, so good job.
All right. Bye now.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.